Okay? So that's an organization, it's a non-for-profit organization. What does it do? In healthcare, you have some 50 standards when it comes to data formats and data exchanges on highly, highly complex, right? Very, very complicated matter. And what they do is they take all those standards and create a methodology of how you can build software that exchanges data in a standardized way. So the system is interoperable by definition with other systems that adopt this methodology. So if you're IHE, you're interoperable. If you're not IHE, you're basically proprietary, right? You're doing your own thing, which is also fine. Many of you might know Apple Healthcare now proposes that you can access your health data through your Apple phone and so on and so forth. But that's really what it is. It's another big silo that's being built. It's not really interoperable. And with our technology, we leverage these legacy systems. So the systems that are already deployed, instead of telling them, look, we have the new solution, we work together with them. We integrate them rather than propose to rip and replace them. And with this, we address the issue of being able to share data. But there's another problem to that. There's another dimension to that. Many of these stakeholders don't actively want to share the data. They have the data, but they see it as a competitive advantage. I'm a hospital, I have patient data. Why would I want to share it with someone else? It's mine, right? It's my USP to some extent. And in Austria right now, where we are building up since almost a decade now, one of these nationwide backbones, it's called ELGA, Elektronische Gesundheitsakte. It's easy because it's a public healthcare system, and so we just created a law that says you need to participate in that, you need to get hooked up into that system, and you need to share that data. But in private healthcare systems, it's not that easy. So what blockchain does for us, with blockchain we create a token, it's called Grapevine, and that token stands as an incentive, as a reward for you sharing your data. And you're actually the only one, you as a patient are the only one that can share your data, right? No one else should, and in that solution can share your data. And you're being rewarded if you say you make your data available, for example, to a researcher that has a need and that requests for it. So what does that mean for healthcare? What does Grapevine bring to healthcare? First of all, and probably most important of all, we provide you a unified health record. Through Grapevine, you can access your data. We don't store your data, we don't own your data, nothing is centralized. We're just the plumbers in those systems, right? We're putting the pipes where they need to be, and for you to access it through your application, data stays where it is. Very important point. Second of all, once you have that data available, you can share it with someone and have them make services available to you, right? And in that example, let's start up here. You're the individual, and you can submit a request for a medical analysis based on your patient data, on your app, right, through the Grapevine app. What we do is we take your consent. We say, okay, you're obviously interested in that, you want that. We go with that consent to the healthcare provider, to the hospital, to your doctors, and where that data is. We pull it together, so we have the data. With that data, we now we work together on the one hand with expert networks, with medical professionals, and that's another interesting component to all of that, with app developers, with artificial intelligence people that develop algorithms that can analyze and can diagnose to some degrees. Google just announced a really interesting result there. Some degrees even more precise than human physicians can, right? So we're working together with all those actors, just providing them the data. It's nothing that we as such do, but we're the guys facilitating the data exchange behind that. And then the result of that, the medical analysis is being returned, and we return that to you. Now that whole thing also works from the other side around. Again, there can be a researcher. Let's stick to this example of a clinical trial. There's a pharmaceutical corporation that wants to run a clinical trial with, let's say, 500 patients. They want to develop some new medicine for diabetes type 2, so should be male, should be 50 to 70 years old, German speaking because that's the region they want to address, and so on and so forth. So they submit that request to Grapevine. What Grapevine does, again, we don't have the data, we only have a very small subset of metadata about the patients we have in the network. So what we do is we forward that request for that clinical trial to you if you are fitting, if you fit that profile. So what that happens is you get a push notification, look, there's a clinical trial where you would fit in, you could participate. No one knows that yet. The pharmaceutical corporation doesn't know that reach you, right? It doesn't have to. And then you can decide to participate, make your data available, and that's again where the grapes come in, because you are now being rewarded for that. The pharmaceutical corporation pays in at the beginning those tokens, they acquire the tokens, pay them in for that, and you receive them for making your data available. And that's that circle that you can see on the slide here, and that this data analytics, this can be optional if the pharmaceutical corporation again decides, well, I would like that data to be pre-analyzed, clean, whatever, before it's being returned to me. And in some cases, actually, the whole process can be completely anonymous. They don't even have to know that they have your data. Some clinical trials would require it, in which case then once you decide to participate, they would have your name. But then you gave your consent already, right? This is what we call the Grapevine Community. And you see all on the top, you see either they are data requesters or medical service providers. On the side, you have the patient. And below, you have the healthcare system, right? And what you see are those multiple different streams. I don't want to go too much into detail there. But we have the data that is being, again, it's not some centralization. We're not centralizing that data. But in that picture, it's just easy to illustrate it that way. So we gather the data from the landscape, from the healthcare landscape, and make it available to whoever needs it. And the red dots, those are the grapes that are being exchanged and flowing around. That's a roadmap of where we stand. We incorporated and were founded a year ago, around half a year, a bit more later than we started this blockchain journey, really. We started building up this community. We started proving it out with a couple of technical pilots up and running. So this is validated. The interoperability part of that is validated, right? Because we have strong partners in that space. The blockchain we're currently finalizing. We wrote a white paper. If you're into detail, it's 60 pages, very comprehensive, very in-depth. So let me know or go to the website and download it. Just finished last month a seed financing round, and with these finances now, with those funds, we're preparing and running an ICO for June 2018, so stay tuned for that, and plan to list our token by the end of the year. So what is really unique about Grapevine? There are other healthcare ICOs out there that basically say they do the exact same, right? When everyone talks about making data available and sharing data, which would be pretty cool, but it's pretty complex a task. And we think we are the ones that can manage that because we have that background in standardized interoperability. We do that since 20 years without the blockchain piece, but we really have very, very solid market-proven technology for the data exchange part. It's GDPR compliant for the European region. It's HIPAA compliant for the Americas. And again, we are leveraging the systems that are out there rather than saying we now have the new solution, you need to buy us and throw away what you have. Second of all, we couple that with the blockchain token, and through that create this aligned incentive structure, right? You have a reason to share your data. And third of all, we are running that. We're running that project in a truly community-centered approach. There is no centralization. We're actually, as Grapevine, in parallel to the ICO, we're creating the Grapevine Foundation, which is a non-for-profit foundation, so that the whole ecosystem, with all those different actors involved, it's going to be managed from a purely non-for-profit perspective, right? We're just generating the token. We're a bit of like a central bank for healthcare, right? We're generating the token, giving the token to the ecosystem, letting them trade between each other, and just enabling them. And then our partners, obviously, they provide the technology and they make their money, right? I mean, that's a pretty fair thing. But the whole thing is managed from a non-for-profit perspective. That's the team behind it. Those 6 people up here. Between the 6 of us, we have over 100 years of experience in standardized health data exchange. Again, that's our background. And we are also very proud of a very solid board of advisors spread basically across the world, and we're very different expertise and backgrounds that support us in that endeavor. And with that, just a hint again to the upcoming ICO in June. Check us out on the website, download our white paper, talk to us. We have a Telegram group. We're on Bitcoin Talk. Basically on all social media. Thank you very much. Yeah, do we have time for a question? Yeah, right? Yeah.
If you are invited to sell your data, I mean there are data sets that are probably worth 1,000 euros, there are other data sets that are probably worth 30,000 euros. How does I know that I'm getting a fair price for my data set?
Excellent question. And first of all, I want to differentiate that if you decide to share your data, you don't have to share everything, right? So we enable it on a very granular level. If you say, well, those are really sensitive things, I don't want anyone to know about that, you can also decide only to share, I don't know, the rest of that data. And second of all, we don't set the price for a certain set of data. It's basically a free market dynamic that's going to be established on top of that token, right? Because there's going to be data requesters that says, I have an interest for that set of data, and if it's not enough money they offer for that, there's not going to be enough participants for that. So basically, they're going to write the price. Right? That's the intention behind that. There's no price stabilizing mechanism that we would run.
My opinion is that the people are not aware of how much money their data is worth, and actually it would be fair if you run an auction, if you invite the people, and if you let the people set price for their data set. But I don't know if the people are intelligent enough to assess their prices.
It's a good point. We didn't think yet about the introduction of data auctions as such. Is that it probably might make it even more complex than it already is. Other questions? Yeah?
Sorry, a provocative question. Do you really think people care for the money which they might earn from giving out their data? I mean, we have seen these electronic patient record systems failing for 20 years now, and it never worked out. So why should it go now?
Right. It's a great question, and we don't see the main value of Grapevine and of what we enable in the money you get. It's really more about the services that can be exchanged and of the participating stakeholders that you saw at the top, right? The data requesters, of them starting to being able to provide you some incentive to participate. You don't have to do it for the money. You can also make your data available through that solution. You can make your data available without being rewarded. I understand that for most of the people participating in clinical trials, again, for example, there is no monetary motivation behind it, right? You just want to contribute. We also very much enable that. Okay? And thank you very much again.